Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Crossroads of Cognizance, the place where we are creating a community discussion about all topics woo woo, magical, energetic, personal development, spiritual development, and all of the above. And here on this broadcast, we have taken to Reddit to offer unsolicited advice to unsuspecting Redditors.
Unknowing Redditors, because they ain't gonna find us.
Right, pretty much. And so, we're moving through the different stories, and Katrina brought up some really interesting themes regarding kind of what's out there on the internet. And you know, with all of these things that we talk about and what we choose, it comes down to these are similar things that we've heard from clients or experiences that we've had that we hope to really dispel and change or at least offer a different perspective. And so we will be doing that again today. But if this is your first time joining us, we see you there, Crystal. Hello. If this is your first time joining us on Facebook, you're going to want to hit the like and join the broadcast. Like actually hit the screen, and that'll allow us to see your comments. And on YouTube, you guys can just sit back, watch, and comment as you will. And just some introductions from us. So I'm Dahlia. I am the founder of the Conduit School, where I teach my local community. I serve my clients, and I hold space for all amounts of transformation through healing work, spiritual counseling, and goodness, so many other things. And you might notice my background's a little different. I am at a retreat right now, and tomorrow I'll be guiding my retreat attendees through a very unique experience of opening up their channels. But that is what I do. But I'm not here alone. Thank goodness.
And I tell you, she's way more interesting than I am, because tomorrow I'm going to be in town going to the gym and having lunch with my daughter. So I'm not nearly as fascinating. My name's Katrina Rasbold. I'm half of CrossroadsOccult.com, and we make and sell magical products there. I also offer services of different types of readings and spiritual cleansings. I also teach many, many classes through my Patreon, and I do spell work for people. I've written a bunch of books. If you go to Amazon.com and put my name in, Katrina Rasbold, I'm the only Rasbold in all of Amazon. So you'll find me there. And if you want to know anything about all the things that I do, you can go to KatrinaRasbold.com. And that has the full listing of everything that I do. And below my name on this broadcast is crossroadsoccult.com. And you can also find me through there, email me through there, whatever you need to do. So that's what I do. And one of the joys that I have of everything I do is, and have done for decades now as a professional witch and a personal witch and all the witchy things, is I get to spend my every other Thursday with this beautiful woman. And we have had so much fun talking about these different subjects, professionally addressing different issues that are in common for each of us, charting the themes, because this was one of the first things that Crossroads of Cognizance was built on, is that even though she's on the East Coast and I'm on the West Coast, we were finding themes to what we did that were concurrent. We had different themes of prosperity and themes of fear and themes of infidelity and all these different sorts of feelings, human experiences that were coming up the same in our different clients. And so we would be comparing notes professionally and recognize that we were having these long ass conversations about these things that other people might benefit from. And that's why this broadcast came into being. We are now 100 and some episodes in. I can't really remember. I know you probably
108.
108 episodes in. And what it is we're inviting you to sit around our table while we talk about things going on with our clients, things going on magically with us, energetic things that we're exploring, new ideas that we read about. And so you're getting to be part of our team, part of our tribe as we talk about these things. And so once we had talked about everything in the whole wide world, Dahlia started deep diving into Reddit because that's where people are often asking questions. And we thought if it's coming up as a question there, it might be a theme for other people. So she just goes hazmat into these places and finds these wonderful topics. And she has a couple of really great ones this time that we're going to work on. And they may or may not be relatable to you. We hope that you get something out of it. If not, we're going to have fun sitting here and talking about it.
Thank you for all of that. So
Mhm.
this first one has to do with intuition, and it stood out in reading it simply because I've definitely, and I know Katrina has seen this in clients who are developing their intuition and being more intentional about that. I believe um, a lot of times people start out in different areas. Like some will say, well, I just want to heal. Others will say, well, I want to progress and develop spiritually. And then still more, there are many different opportunities for entering the intuitive space, but they all sort of lead to that same road of intuition. And then with that intuition comes their natural belief system. This particular Reddit, I believe, has a lot of belief systems too, but I will stop preambling and get right to it. So um, it goes as follows. The Redditor's information, the Redditor's names, Royal Opinion 8185. And the title is I Did Something Against My Intuition and It Hasn't Forgiven Me Since. My intuition gave me very bold signs to not do something. Woke up one day with just that thought in my head, was hesitating when I did it, and I said, just let me do it. Biggest mistake of my life. Right after I did it, I had the worst nightmare I've ever had. My life took a 180 and a series of bad events. Even my glasses that are new broke, and I started overthinking about everything that has happened to me as a child, feeling really weird stuff like heartburn, hair fall, and trouble to sleep. My intuition then told me to do something that might fix it. I did, and I kind of felt better, but it's still not the same. So, do you want to? There's so many things. I
There's
mean,
so much to unpack there. Now, often when we hear these Reddit posts, obviously we have people that are looking for help and we have people that are also looking for validation. That's also a big theme of what we see here. Another theme that we see is that a lot of times it sounds like the person's very young or very inexperienced. Now, if we look at the handle for the Reddit handle, it ends in 8185. I am going to presume that means this person was born August 1st, 1985.
hmm.
So they're not a baby. They've presumably been out there in the world a little bit, if that's in fact true, and that's not just maybe they're the 8,185th person to have a royal opinion. But I'm going to go with the birthday idea. Some of the phrasing in this is problematic for me. So the idea, now correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe you got a different opinion of this or a different take on it, but it sounds to me that they wanted to do something. Now, their intuition was telling them not to do it. Now, as a healer, I need more information. I need to know, well, were you wanting to do something illegal? Were you wanting to do something immoral? Were you wanting to do something that just didn't matter in the big scheme of things, like turn right instead of left? What is our degree of concern regarding what it was you wanted to do? So their intuition told them to do something. They said, just let me do it. Now, that's a lot of territory right there. And so what happened? Their intuition just let them do it. And now they feel like they're being punished for having chosen to do that. Now, when I hear that, to me, that sounds like a lack of accountability, that you need to be punished because you did something you perceive as wrong. So there's a lack of accountability in the sense of our actions have outcomes. Our actions have consequences for the positive and for the negative. And we, as enlightened adults, make a choice. We own the results of that choice for the good and for the bad. And if we need to, we make different choices to adjust our way out of wherever we landed our damn self. And the other side of that is that if we make a choice that we know is wrong, some people expect, I'm not on board with this, but some people expect that some higher being is going to punish them for it. And that has not been my experience. I think often we punish ourselves, or we perceive the natural outcomes of our choices as punishment rather than cause and effect. So if I were talking to this person, I'd want to know, okay, let's stop playing this little game here and tell me what it was so that I, based on my moral compass, can make a decision about how bad or how good this decision was. Were you making a decision to kill somebody? Were you making a decision to break up with your partner? Were you making a decision to steal a candy bar at a store? What was our level of cultural concern with this? And then I would see if whether or not the responses they're getting are commiserate to what they did, or if they're self-generated, or if genuinely they're having some reasonable outcomes for a bad choice. So that's what I got till you talk.
Okay. Adding to the things that you've said, yeah, the experience that I've had personally, the experience that I got through others, is just that um, there is not a moment where your intuition is going to punish you.
Mm-hmm.
There are decisions that are made that are in alignment, and then there are decisions that are made that are out of alignment. But at the end of the day, your soul, your intuition, your higher self, all of the things that people talk about communing with, even divinity of any kind, deities, things like that, they're going to let you fuck up. And that's because on the other side of that is your growth. So not every decision or every intuitive follow is a beautiful outcome, but also when we go against our intuition, you still gain something. And that is wisdom and experience, and that can't be replaced by constantly following your intuition, like, in a world where you are not encouraged to do so. In fact, you are encouraged to repeatedly doubt yourself. So this to me sounds like a person who maybe recently navigated their way away from maybe strong religious beliefs, where, or at least if they weren't religious, they were just beliefs, maybe from childhood, where someone else was responsible for the majority of their care, and now they don't have a sense of trust to navigate everyday life. And so this is the world sort of confirming that for them through not listening to their intuition. Another thing that came up this reference, it sounds like when people talk about when people talk about their intuition in this specific way, it sounds like when people speak in third person. And so it made me question, like, is this possibly an entity? If
Hmm.
there is a perception of other, that it is not a part of who they are, at least it doesn't sound like it is a part of who they are. And
Mhm.
then the fact that it would have to come in and tell you how to fix it. And like, it reeks of potential being feasting on your sense of worthlessness.
Hmm.
But we don't have enough information, obviously.
We don't. And one of the things that is a theme in life as well is we go with this idea, and I believe that this is 95% true, that we don't learn from things that feel good.
Right.
We learn best from things that hurt or cause us inconvenience or are a problem. However, there's that other 5%. For instance, if I'm wearing this shirt that I'm ambivalent about, and it fits and it looks okay, and I'm happy with it, and I go out into the world and I find $20 on the street, and somebody tells me I look really good in that shirt, and I very narrowly miss having an accident, and my mortgage company calls and says, "Hey, we want to skip a payment for you," or all these wonderful things happen. All of a sudden, that shirt's my lucky shirt. When I didn't give a shit about it that morning, okay, it's now the lucky shirt. I'm going to wear this shirt all the time. So we can be conditioned by positive things,
Sure.
but I wouldn't have gotten that just from one incident. It would take a conglomeration of things happening to give me the feeling that this is a good thing. And often it's just one bad, painful thing that will very quickly give me the message that this is a bad thing. So I think that they're looking to be conditioned in some kind of negative way. And I think you're right that this does uh, relate back to formative core wounds that happened when they were being raised. And there's so many people out there that are looking for a guiding force. And that's why traditional religion gets to be so popular, is because people want to be told how to act. And I really appreciated what you said about um, them treating their intuition as something external from them. And I'm thinking, who the hell are you talking to? And so
Yeah.
when you said entity, yeah, that made sense. I think that also, as I don't even want to say enlightened people, but as people that are striving toward enlightenment and have worked for decades to try to make that happen, we really begin to trust our intuition, and we really depend on it sometimes. But I think we can depend on our intuition too much, because our intuition will inadvertently lie. And the way that it does that is that we, despite what we want to believe about how sacred and holy we are and how open our crown chakra is and all that, we are not always connected. Uh, or we're connected to varying degrees. Sometimes we are just in the zone and we're feeling it, and we're, walking on sunshine. And sometimes that it feels like our gods have left us. It feels like we just can't find that connection. And that's a normal human experience for even the most enlightened souls. If you go back and read some of the works of the ascended masters, even they write about feeling that off track feeling or that disconnected feeling. And also, sometimes our intuition is more filtered than it is at other times by what's going on around us. I mean, hell, if I miss my Wellbutrin 2 days in a row, I could really misconstrue what my intuition is telling me. Because
Mhm.
if we have aspects of depression that come in, or if we're with gaslighting partners, or if we're with situations that seem to be compounding negative experience, it's very hard to hear our intuition and to trust our intuition, because it can be filtered by internal or external experiences. So intuition's great. We're fantastic with intuition, but sometimes we need to question intuition and put it to the litmus and make sure it's solid. I know plenty of people that are fantastic tarot readers that have a problem. They'll throw a spread out about it and just look at the cards and go, clearly I didn't have a good connection, and pick it up because the cards are telling them what they don't want to hear. So
Mm.
we do tend to twist around what our intuition tells us. And this is why, and I see this more and more as I get older, we need a tribe. We need people we can trust and reach out to and believe will tell us the objective truth, and do so in a compassionate way that's going to be helpful to us. And so we have to find those people. Now, if this person had those folks, they could go to them and say, hey, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm getting. What are you thinking? It doesn't have
Right.
to be a professional healer. Helps if it is, but I mean, it can just be people that whose wisdom you trust and whose connection you trust and who know you well enough to know, hey, something is off with you. And yeah, there's something definitely amiss about this. Uh, I just find it suspect that they're not relating what it was they wanted to do. That makes me believe it's something immoral or something illegal.
I think it's interesting that they're noting the overthinking, the heartburn, hair falling out, and trouble sleeping, when those are also symptoms of just overall stress. Like,
Yeah,
it doesn't have to, I think we've said this on the show before, it doesn't always have to be a curse. It doesn't always have to be a punishment of some kind. You know, um, what what does your diet look like? How are you caring for yourself? All of these things are factors. And then it's not a punishment or you going against your intuition to start to reflect on the negative things that happened in your childhood. That is a part of the healing process. Maybe whatever she engaged in or that let me do it, like you can see a kid stomping and saying, let me do it
yeah,
almost.
yeah.
When you trigger something like that, you're supposed to get closer to it. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it feels terrible to have to navigate the pains or the realizations from the past, but that is literally the only way to get closer to your intuition and closer to your healing process. So it sounds like I guess in totality, for me, it sounds like their intuition might be something a little more than intuition. It sounds like they, like you were saying, Katrina, they don't want to take accountability for their choices, and um, and that they're going through some real natural highs and lows, and their body is responding accordingly, because we just don't know what else is going on, and that they are being presented with an opportunity to get closer to their intuition by dealing with the symptoms at hand
Mhm.
instead of writing them off as some sort of punishment or attack.
Well, and we can often, and I see this all the time in my practice, chart what a client is talking to us about really, not what they're saying out their mouth, but what they're really talking to us about or trying to talk to us about based on their physical symptoms. So this person didn't say, I have indigestion. This person said, I have heartburn. This tells me that they likely have that something about this was relative to the heart chakra,
Mm,
and that means your interpersonal relationships. So I think that whatever let me do this, I think whatever it was related to an interpersonal relationship with somebody, maybe they slept with somebody's husband or cut off a partner that they care about but don't want to be with, or whatever it might be, or told their mama they're not going to talk to them anymore, whatever. I think there was something related to an interpersonal relationship or how they relate to people that
mm,
was involved with this that's causing them physical heart pain. not pain of the cardiac muscle, but in the heart chakra area. And then they've got hair loss, which that is going to be a crown chakra. So it's something, they're saying my intuition is punishing me. I think what they mean is God is punishing me. And if that's the case, that's interfering with that crown chakra activity to reach out to the divine, because if something's whipping you, you don't want to reach back. So I think that those are other two considerations. And I've often seen that when a person's experiencing physical symptoms, it's also often related to whatever their primary trauma is for the time being. And like you mentioned, all those things are just absolute stress. And if they're stressing out over the choice they made because they know they should not have done that and somehow wanted to feel entitled to that, then that incongruity can cause huge stress.
Absolutely. And still weaken the energy field and all of those things.
Get a cleansing.
Okay. I think we're ready to go on to the next one.
Shall we?
Okay, so this one is the user is WaterB7. The title is My Efforts to Fulfill My Dreams Are Being Sabotaged. Why? So it goes on as follows. Turning 37, single, no kids, wanted to be a famous singer who produces my own songs. Yes, I know I'm considered old in that industry. I've tried for many years, perhaps about 8 years, to do it. Perhaps my efforts weren't 100%, but still, for one reason or others, I've not achieved my goal of just making one album. Anyway, sometimes I feel I should still do it, pursue it, but I get upset because I feel my efforts get sabotaged. Most recently, the DAW I'm used to. I think there's a typo there. Recently, the something I'm used to produce music is not working. Well, likely due to having an old computer, maybe the Dell that I'm used to using.
I'm
The,
looking it
the
up.
computer I want to replace it with costs money. I don't have at the fun. I don't have the funds for at this time. Is God trying to tell me something with this? Am I missing a spiritual message here? What am I to learn from this? Perhaps to take a break, but it hurts that I'm old attempting to pursue this dream. I feel shame and hate about pursuing this goal at my age. I've been told by a voice to have fun or take a break. I'm not clear on how to take a break, what that looks like. Also heard to DJ, but I don't want to. Also, messages that there's a lot of typos here. Also, message that like if I DJ, I'd get success there, even married and a family, but I don't want to DJ. I've had to take I've heard to take a class or classes. I'm working on trying to increase my income and seeing if I can take one or two classes. Probably one is all I'm up to now. Aside from the typos, and the so I feel like they got their answer in the rant. I don't know if
Yeah.
anybody heard it. But the fact that they despise, I think was the actual
Shame and hate.
yeah, I feel shame and hate about pursuing my goal at this age. That is why you're blocked. like entirely nothing else need be said. If you were to work on that shame and that hate, I'm sure that the doors and the access you have would skyrocket and the doors would fly open. I mean, to some degree, we all have to evaluate what it is that we're connected to. So, in terms of manifestation, like, for instance, I would not be somebody who could manifest a singing career just because I wanted to sing, because that's not where I'm connected in this life. And would you have been able to tell me that as a kid? And I go, oh, what do you mean? I No, I probably would have had to explore it, fail, and then figure it out. However, there are things that each of us is connected to that can just open up for us, because that's what it's part of, on some level of, on some frequency or some vibration, it's part of who we are. And so it sounds like music is what is part of what this person is.
Mhm.
Um, at the same time, they have immense conflict. I mean, shame and hate are very strong emotions that can make you ill. They can make you sick. They can fatigue you. They can drain you. So there's just like, aside from that, when you look at the ripple effect of where this person is applying their energy, of course it's messing with their money. Of course they don't have the money to buy the laptop, because the thing that will make them money is where they have shame and hate. So it's just like it's a falling Jenga tower.
Mm.
She's pulling at these pieces, hoping that it's going to stay up. And then it seems like the last piece seems more like a spiral than it does intuition, a grasping for straws, if you will, where it's like, well, maybe if I try this, well, maybe if I do that. And because she has a spiritual life, it feels like intuition, because right now everything else hurts. Like, so I feel like she's in one of those, like, I say I have gendered this person. I do that every time. This person seems like, since everything hurts, they're like, just give me anything that I can work with, but also not that. Um, and so if it is intuition, that sort of, I want something but not that principle is definitely not helpful. And I would be advising them to honestly just focus on the shame and hate part. But then too, I understand the resistance to taking classes and DJing, but like, have you tried it? you know, I mean, and if not, what does it look like? Or at least going to see DJs play, or go and sit in a YouTube university. I mean, there's so many different options, but definitely starting with the shame and hate is a good. That's the spiritual message that's missed. That's being missed. is is to address the shame and hate.
Okay, I got notes. So it's wonderful to have a dream. It's wonderful to have a drive toward that dream. I think that's fantastic. And I think that is critical to achieving things that we really want to do, is having the drive that's behind that. Uh, because otherwise our dream just dies around the campfire. We just sit around and talk about it and don't do anything about it. So props for that. I'm glad you got that. But there is a sense of entitlement that comes with that. That, okay, I'm 37, single with no kids. All right, you 37 and you're single. I'm going to talk to you about that. Um, Not that everybody has to be married, but where are your relationships? How have your relationships been? Because I think that explains a lot in terms of where your focus has been.
Sure.
And it's concerning to me. I've tried for many years, about 8 years, to do it. You know, 8 years isn't shit for a huge goal.
No.
Um, Perhaps my efforts weren't 100%. Then you weren't committed and you weren't driven for it. They're admitting and see, this is what pissed me off. So The first lead in on this, my efforts to fulfill my dream are being sabotaged. Why, God? Why? And then they go on to say, I've only been trying to do this for 8 years, and they're 37, so they've been trying it since they were 29. I haven't put 100% into it. And my latest example of how it's being sabotaged is I'm running some old ass Dell Windows 7 computer and it stopped working. And that's how I'm being sabotaged. You're not being sabotaged, you're broke. That's different. And poverty is not sabotage. Poverty is an obstacle, yes. And poverty is trauma, absolutely. But poverty is not a punishment that's being inflicted on you because you want to be a famous singer and pursue a goal that's going to happen to maybe 1 in 250,000 people. So we have to look at the size of the goal too. I want to be a famous singer, but I also want to produce my own material. Okay, well, that's adding more burden onto what I want to do because I don't want to hear anybody else's opinion about how my music should sound. I'm 62 years old and obese, and I want to be an astronaut really, really badly. I've been pursuing this dream for 2 weeks, and I think I'm being sabotaged because NASA has not yet called me. Could I be an astronaut? Who knows? Maybe, but there's going to be a lot of effort that's going to have to come from me to make that happen. That doesn't mean I'm being sabotaged.
Right.
So I can feel the despair of this person and that they're just at their wits' end, that they haven't achieved what they wanted to do. But when you are pursuing a huge goal like that, you think about these overnight successes that took 20 years to happen. So it ain't about the DJ. I don't know why they're so focused on this idea of being a DJ. They are trying to convince us they shouldn't have to DJ to be a famous singer that produces their own material. So let's set the DJ idea over here because it just doesn't matter. If you go to school to be a DJ, if you pursue that, if you follow up on what DJs do, that doesn't matter. It's adjacent. It's music. But that's like saying, I'm told that if I'll just try to be a concert pianist that I can get to no, it's just music. One isn't necessarily relative to the other. Stay
Right.
with your goal if you're going to pursue that, but you're going to have to weather these crises of existentialism where it's not happening. So when you're asking, why, God, why am I being sabotaged? You're not being sabotaged. You're just working against heavy, heavy odds. When you're coming from clearly a financially challenged situation into an arena where everybody has a YouTube channel and where all of these amazing singers are promoting themselves on all of these different social media platforms. It's not like where, you're going to walk into some drugstore and hear the soda jerk singing under his breath and offer him a Motown label. That's not going to happen. So you have to work even harder for that now. So he's been dropped. I won't even say he's chosen. He has been motivated onto a path that's really hard to achieve. Beaten, and see, I'm gendering now because I'm saying it's a male. It's possibly a female.
Right.
They have been dropped into this difficult situation for achieving this goal. They've been put in a financial compromise in the achievement of that goal. This doesn't mean they can't do it, but it also doesn't mean that the universe or an entity or somebody is sabotaging their efforts. It just means you didn't do it yet, and you were absolutely 100% right to cue in on those strong words of shame and hate that they are turning onto themselves for not having been able to accomplish this incredibly difficult goal. So again, as I always say, we need more information. I need to know how you're sustaining yourself right now, or if you're living off your mama's dime. I need to know if you are doing this as a side hustle, or if you have just given up every hope of taking care of yourself in any other way. And that's maybe why you're feeling so panicked. I need to know how quickly you brushed off. I'm surprised they even admitted that their efforts haven't been 100%. That was very bold and candid of them. But if your efforts haven't been 100%, let's move into your efforts being 100% and see what happens after the shame and guilt is pushed away. Because what in the world do they have that they documented here to feel ashamed of and guilty for, other than not having achieved an nearly impossible goal in 8 years?
Yeah, that focus on two things that came up was the being old, I think, is the
That was
shame.
repeated
Like
often.
how does one feel shame for something so beyond their control? Like there is
And so
no
natural.
right, you can't stop time. So, being old and then being in the music industry, that is a lot. And not being in arenas where age plays to my favor in the arena that I'm in. But not having experienced arenas where age is a negative concept, I have distant, like arm's length empathy for this. Because it also sounds like this person may be the only one focused on their age. Like, it is, are you trying to be in a music video with a crop top and that's like the problem? I don't, what is the exact ageism focus? And then I thought it was interesting. They started out by mentioning their age and their where they are in life in terms of kids and marriage, and that there is a pathway that their intuition has given them. There's a pathway where they could both have the music career and be married with children. And but they don't want that path. And it makes me wonder if some of this ageism or feeling like they're too old is that they feel too old to establish a family as well,
Maybe.
alongside the music career. So this was a very interesting post, it was filled with a lot of negatively, like self-faced negative energy. That was a clear indicator of there's self-sabotage, but maybe not
Mhm.
necessarily universal redirects as we would call it.
You know, before the internet, when people wanted to process, they wrote in a journal. And I'm 100% certain that most people who kept a journal for self development or self expression had times in that journal where they were self deprecating
Mhm.
and really beating themselves up or really beating up on the people around them, and sharing some very negative innermost feelings. Now that all happens in public on the
Mm.
internet. And so people take their deepest, most brutal feelings about themselves and others and just vomit them out into public forums and then wait for the response. And we see that level. Stop it. I'm sorry. Hang on. My dog is stuck. Hold on, buddy. There you go. You're good. All right. Sometimes he was caught up in the cord, sweetheart. He's fine. You can take him. He's go get out of here. We see this also in especially the younger women who post pictures that are self-deprecating and they do it in almost a fishing way to get compliments.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times the things that people post on message boards, message groups, and I guess we don't have message boards anymore, but forums and things like that are designed not to get assistance or correction or anything like that. They're designed to get validation. And so, people are putting some of their most negative stuff out there, and then they're upset if somebody comes back and says, well, have you considered, or actually, I stopped being an armchair warrior a long time ago. It was fun for a while where I could feel like I was making some kind of difference, and I just realized that I was not contributing anything positive by trying to assist and connect with people online, as far as people having actual um, productive discourse about anything that's going on with them.
Mm.
Most of the time, I think with these sorts of posts, people are not looking for that. They're not genuinely looking for somebody to say, hey, here's what's going on. I'm going to give you 5 points to look at here. And when you've studied each one of those 5 points, you come back to me and we'll have a conversation about it. Hear
No.
that. They want to hear, don't worry, you can do it. You just need to put a little more time into being a music star. I'll bet you've got a great voice. Let me hear your let me have your OnlyFans link so that I can listen to your music.
Yeah.
So this person seemed like they were looking for reasons to be upset with themselves and to feel bad about themselves. And that's always concerning when that's the direction somebody's taking.
True, true.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that both posts reference God, or sort of redirect to, this must be something outside of me causing my circumstance. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, community is important. Also, the the advice that you gave the last person about having people around you to kind of check in to say, what's going on here. I mean, even if you don't have people for this person, I would be like, well, what oracle cards have you pulled and what do they look like, and instead of oracle, because I said oracle to maybe take it easy on you, just get some straight tarot cards, and when you've gotten the death card enough, you'll be like, okay, let me try something new. Or
Well, and Heidi says demo tape. And one thing to think about that we really need to look at here is you can want to produce your own music and be a famous singer all you want to. If you are not talented, you are going to have a problem doing that. And part of the feedback they might be getting, and the reason they're feeling so negative, is somebody might have said, you just don't have it.
Hmm.
And it's sad to say that. And we have plenty of evidence of people passing on famous singers, producers saying they'll never make it, they'll never be famous, they'll never be a success. And then there's some meteoric rise of fame to this person. It does happen. Not everybody has the same taste. I mean, and there's lots of famous singers that I can say their voice is really terrible. I
Yeah.
mean, I love you, Bob Dylan, but goddamn, son. So, there's different ways to reach an audience, but talent does seem to be an important component in the music business, especially now that we can sift. Now that Journey can literally go on YouTube and watch Journey impersonators to find somebody that sounds exactly like Steve Perry and send them a message and say, do you want to be in Journey? So I'm just saying that, you're up against a lot here. But, again, maybe they just don't have the chops. You can't tell.
Yeah, there's absolutely no way of knowing in terms of the post, but their attitude certainly is not serving them well. I mean, like
So
at
one strand, one thread we can look at in the two that we talked about today that would be my calling card for this specific situation is that when you give your power away externally, I am being sabotaged. Now, are you being sabotaged? Maybe by you, maybe by life. I don't know. Or you're saying that your intuition is punishing you or whatever. When you externalize that force, you immediately disempower yourself. When you take accountability for where you are and what's happening and what's going on, then you empower yourself. You accept that you are responsible for your outcomes. I'm not going into some kind of law of attractions crap of, well, you draw all these experiences to you. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that as adults, and I'm going to limit it to fully functioning adults, we are responsible for what happens to us in life in terms of what we produce and what we can go. But some of us have different roads. Some of us have harder times getting there than others for a number of different reasons. But we can say, okay, this didn't happen because I didn't put enough into it. This didn't happen because music is not my gift. Or this didn't happen because it just hasn't been long enough.
or the lack of education. I mean, they even claimed that in their posts is that they may need to take classes when somebody feels it's interesting to see the landscape, the internet landscape, and just social media landscape now, where people. It's nice to see people more emboldened to embrace themselves. At the same time, there seems to be a chasm and a lack of awareness to say some of the things that they want may require a bit more education. Like there is more to DJing, singing, and producing music than just making it.
Mhm.
There are ways to string the things together, and maybe collaboration is something that they haven't done or considered because they just
Mhm.
feel like, this mantle has been placed on my shoulders and into the wilderness I go. And the reality is they may just not know enough. They've just been wasting, not wasting, but using up time, effort, and likely money.
Mhm.
Um, so
I'd also want to know where they live because as much as the internet has brought us all together and kind of shrunk the world a little bit, I think that still matters. If you want to be an actor or an actress on television or in movies and you live in Kentucky, you're probably not going to get too far. You need to be where that's happening. And I think proximity also feeds the energy of what you're doing,
oh yeah, 100%.
depending on what other people around you are doing. So if you are wanting to be in films, you should be talking to people who are in films and connecting with people who are in films to get that vibe and that energy going. If you're wanting to do pottery, you need to go to the community center that's having pottery classes and talk to people that like pottery. You need to get around your people. And I felt like this person has been going it alone. It kind of feels like they're fighting this battle all by themselves. And I just think that if they could get in the flow of people that are getting this done and opening to learning how other people are getting this done, that might be good.
Yeah. It's a lot of mental and emotional self sabotage as well as practical self sabotage going on here.
And that's not a good
So,
mix.
what's the saying? If you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go with
Oh, I like
others.
that.
Yeah. So, probably
I like
applicable here.
Here, I live in wine country. We have a saying here that says El Dorado County makes wine and Napa makes auto parts. I mean, we are very proud of our wine here. And one of the things that the owner of Fiddleton Winery told my husband was, if you want to make $1 million with a winery, start out with 2 million. Yeah.
Oh,
Start out with 2 million.
good
So,
grief.
I mean, unfortunately, in our world, a lot of times higher levels of success require higher levels of investment
Oh, yeah.
to make that happen. And so, given the illustration that this person was providing about their financial challenges, that could be tough. And, where they're talking about DJing, and Carissa had a good comment about that. Um, sometimes you do have to climb the ranks. Sometimes you do have to work, as a busboy before you can work as a hostess. I mean, there's different levels that you can be involved. Sometimes you got to sweep the store or sweep the floor of the music studio before they'll let you record in there.
Oh, yeah. I was, when I wanted to be a veterinarian, I applied. And what I didn't know is it was one of the best exotics veterinarians, the best on the East Coast. So that was fortunate, but it showed me everything that I needed to know. And then I found other interests, but it's still by far one of the best jobs I ever had because it was part of a passion, a love of
Mhm.
animals. And so not only can you get that introduction, like you said, Katrina, you keep that energy alive. And
Yeah.
there were so many moments where um, I would just be like, oh my gosh, one day I'll get to do this. And so I definitely highly recommend working, volunteering, anything you can do to expose yourself to the place that you want to be, even if it's only a couple times a week or a month or a year.
I think
So,
you also have to look at the idea that things are hard. Sometimes it's really hard to accomplish the things that you want to do, and it takes a long time. And when you allow yourself the mercy and the understanding that you're in it for the long haul, that you've got to pace yourself a little bit, and that you can't always expect to have a win, that sometimes you might have years without a win, that's the nature of the beast. And when you want something big, it takes a lot. So, if somebody just is really striving and really wanting to be the manager of, the CoCos down the street, again, yeah, you can start out as the busboy, work your way up. That's a lot different than wanting to be world famous as a singer, and so you have to proportion your expectations of the time it's going to take to achieve that, and the energy and the resources to achieve that according to the size of the goal and according to where you're starting from. So, I'm sorry for this person. I hate that they're going through this to the point that they've got to use the guilt and shame words. And uh, I'm really sorry for the other person that feels punished that they made a bad choice. I would hope that in the case of the first person, that maybe that's a good lesson that's worth having, to listen to your instincts and not do things are going to be a bad deal. So yeah, this is it was a tough one this week because yeah, you
it,
gotta punch people's bubbles to to get them to where they want to be sometimes.
yeah, exactly. For both of these people to realize, it sounds like they both need to figure out where they want to go rather than just assuming that. And maybe this is like part of our last conversation about the law of attraction. You can't just attract your
Mhm.
intuition. You can't just attract a music career. Um, there are things that have to be addressed. And so for the first person, I hope that they take the opportunity to look at their childhood wounds, and that would probably free up a lot of energy around feeling like they're being punished. And for the second person, addressing that shame and hate and evaluating or going to somebody like Katrina and I and saying just, hey, um, am I getting a redirect here? Is this in alignment with who I am? Is there a way to step onto the path of this in a different way, and so on and so forth? Because the alignment conversation might free up their energy from, basically shoveling it into the trash can.
Mm-hmm.
So, um,
Yeah.
so yeah, this was a slightly heavy one.
And it's also about pray for help, but row for the shore.
Yeah.
As above, so below. It's fine to have a manifest destiny. A lot of us do. It's fine to want divine assistance with that and special little gimmies and help and guidance because it feels so preordained to you. Nothing wrong with having that feeling. That's not entitlement. That's not anything bad. That's wonderful. That's great, because so many people come into this world not having a clue what they want to do or what they should do. God bless you for having the knowledge of what you want to do, but you've got to pay the bill. You still have to do, you got to buy the ticket if you're going to win the lottery. You got to do those mundane things too.
Yep. What do you always say? Chop wood, carry water.
Before and after enlightenment.
All right, you all. Well, we are at that time once again. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for all of the comments. If you've had situations like this, from this broadcast, you have a couple takeaways, so definitely rewatch, but also just know that you can reach out for guidance and or references to books that may kind of keep you uh, focused on a more a higher outlook on the situation, a more broad outlook on the situations ahead. And with that, we will catch you next time on Crossroads. Good night, everybody.